Ah, Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're going to be streaming this and seeing it. Today, I wanted to talk with you guys about balance in life, and more importantly, just being present in the current moment and season, and things that are going on throughout the day. What does being present really look like? We're going to talk about a few different areas, what that looks like. I'm going to share a little bit of my story with that and some struggles that I've had, and then also some tools that you guys can take with you and hopefully apply with yourselves, when we're done here. But first and foremost, balance in life is important, right? Excess in any way, shape, or form is unhealthy for your emotional, spiritual, and physical being. With that, we want it to have a balance in all areas and facets. So they have a saying in studies, and there's a lot of research that balances this, but people that struggle on focusing on the past and things that have already happened and taken place, and they dwell on those things, they struggle severely with depression. Sometimes it'll even lead to suicidal ideation because they're so stuck in the past with things that they can't control, right? Others of us are so goal-oriented or so future-oriented that we, and it's good to have goals, right? But we live in the 5-year plan from now. Like, that's where our mind stays constantly. And of course, it's important to have goals. But if we constantly live in that state of that future being and not being present in the moment, those people are tending to struggle with anxiety, right? Which in turn will lead to fear. And again, will off-put and make unbalanced that center and that being that you're supposed to have in that balance, right? So our goal here, though, is to be present in the moment. For me specifically, to give you a personal example of my story, a few little insights. But one thing that I struggle with severely when it comes to living in the past and struggling with my own depression, when I was 16 years old, my sister Sydney, she was in a car accident and she was only 23 and she ended up passing away. So one day she was there, the next day she was gone. And I kid you not, for years, I struggled with that. I wore that. I was in that season to where as much as I tried to be present or to be goal-oriented and future-oriented, I was stuck in the past. I was missing my sister. What did I not do? What did I not say? Things I wish I could have changed, in our relationship. Things wish I could have said before she passed, right? And I was stuck there. And again, causing that unbalance, not being able to be present in the moment, not being able to push forward in life in a healthy manner. Another example too, when it comes to my anxiety and living in the future, would be I am a transfer that to a goal-oriented person too, right? When it comes to, hey, I wanted to get my graduate's degree, I wanted to be done by a certain time, I wanted to have a wife, and I wanted to have kids, I wanted to have the white picket fence. I had this idea in my head, and I had a worldly, realistic game plan of how to accomplish those things. And I would constantly find myself between the two, right? It'd be, momentarily I'd be stuck in that past and depression, and then other times it'd be, okay, well, if we're going to change the channel here, I'm just going to live in the future here. But it was still to avoid being in the present moment and missing out on the beautiful blessing that the present has to offer us. So with that, I do want to share a brief story that I actually read in Brennan Manning's book. It's called The Ragamuffin Gospel. And bear with me, I'm going to go ahead and read this really quick though. But essentially, there's a man being chased by a ferocious and hungry tiger. The gentleman raced to the edge of a nearby cliff, stopped, and glanced, and saw a tiger about to pounce on him. The man spotted a rope dangling off the edge of the cliff. He grabbed it and began shinnying down the side of the cliff, out of the grasp of the tiger. He sighed with relief. The man then looked down and saw a quarry of jagged rocks 500 feet below. He looked up and saw a tiger poised atop of the cliff with bare claws. Just then, 2 mice began to nibble away at the rope. What do? The man saw a strawberry within arm's reach growing out of the face of the cliff. He plucked it, ate it, and exclaimed, "Yum, that is the best strawberry I've ever eaten in my life." And just to paint a picture, right? So to depict it, right? The past, the tiger overtopped the cliff. That was the past. That was what he had run from. That was what he had escaped, and that was haunting him. And then the future was inevitably him falling to his death in the jagged rocks in the cliff, right? And so again, the past being the tiger, the future being the jagged rocks. You can either focus on death, honestly, either way you look at it. But in that present moment, he had the mindset to be so aware of what I'm instilling as God's blessing that was bestowed upon him, and had the mindset to be so present, to have it, eat it, exclaim, man, that's the best thing I've ever tasted in my life. Best strawberry, at least. Now with that, that's a drastic example. It is. So I want to give you a more practical one that we might be able to relate with in our own personal lives, right? So let's say, a worldly example, we wake up in the morning, we're late. We hit the snooze button one too many times. We get to work. This is the third time it's happened in 2 weeks span. So we have our talk with our boss. We get a little verbal warning. And our day starts off in a horrible awry with that, in mind. We move forward through the day, but we're kind of stuck on that. And we're in that mindset of, man, I don't want to get fired. I'm in trouble. You're dwelling on that, right? You're stuck in the past. It's giving you that depressive mindset. At lunch that day, right after, your boss, has a work session and a meeting with the whole team, and he says, hey, we're going to go ahead and implement a new standard operating procedures here, and everybody's going to get trained on them in next week when you guys come in. We're going to do a 3-day training, and then we're going to fully implement it the following week after that. And you specifically, you're a person that doesn't like change. You have an internal fear of learning new things, changing the way things are. You like things a certain way, a status quo. You've been trained on them, and you know them to a T, and you're good to go, right? Go through the motions. So now that morning mindset, stuck in the depression state and the mindset of the past, things you can't change, you're already late, right? So there's that picture, and then the future picture of, hey, this thing is coming up in next week or the week after, and I'm gonna be dreading that, and my anxiety is gonna lead to internalized fear. I'm gonna overthink this. It's gonna make me unbalanced again. So the day ends, you go home, and your family's at home, your spouse made dinner, you're with your kids at the dinner table. And the majority of us guys, myself included at times, and I have to check myself, and thankfully I've become much more mindful of it. But the majority of the time, we will be stuck in one of two mindsets. That will either be the past of what our morning routine was and how we were late, right? And how, man, I wish I wouldn't have been late this morning. And our mind will be there, or we'll be on the mindset of, I can't be here right now because I'm so focused and worried and concerned about next week and the training, and am I competent enough? Am I capable enough? What's it gonna look like? What are these? And then these internalized questions. But meanwhile, the present moment, your spouse and your children, and let's say you're having your favorite dinner that night too. All these things are in front of you. And the majority of the time, we're gonna be so focused on the past or the future that we're missing out on the present moment, which is the blessing of having that quality time with our families, right? And again, I've been there myself, so I can relate with it. But we need to be more mindful of those things. And, you might ask, how can I become a better husband? How can I become a better wife? How can I become a better friend? How can I be a better coworker? How can I be a better mother or father? How can I find internal peace? What does that look like? So I wanted to give you guys a couple of grounding tools that I have and developed myself and implement on a regular basis. There's 3 things I want to leave you guys with though. First and foremost, put your phone down, and also your TV. Electronic time, to be present, especially a quality time, more so with your family. We'll go that route right for now for this example. Put your guys' phones down. Be intentional about having conversations with each other. Be intentional about asking how their days were, right? You don't need the distraction of social media or checking your work email or answering a phone call or, watching March Madness, on the basketball screen while you guys are at the dinner table, right? Be present with each other and let that distraction be put away. And then also too, the one thing that I would add to that is being mindful of your screen time. Like, how much throughout the day are you on your phone? Because that thing, I understand there's benefits in work and it's great that we can all be interconnected, but at the same time, it gets really bad for your overall mental health if you're on it too much. It genuinely is, and it has a big effect on me. So I try to be very mindful of my screen time personally. The second thing, when in conversation with somebody, be presently engaged with them. Making eye contact, asking questions, giving insightful feedback to them. Be in check. Don't be stuck in that past or present mind. Be right here with the person. Give them the respect they're due as you would want the respect back, right? And then the third thing, the grounding technique. It's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. And what the grounding technique is, the 5 is the 5 things you can see around you. So right now in my office, I see, some blinds, I see a door, I see a Kawhi Leonard poster, I see a Michael Jordan thing, and then I see my Bible, right? So those are my 5 things. 4 things you can touch or feel, right? So around you, I can touch my legs, I can touch my hat, I can touch my phone, right? I can, touch my chest. 4 things, grounding. 3 distinct sounds you hear. 1, I hear the echo of my voice right now. 2, We have a little snowstorm going on here in Michigan today, so I hear some snow falling on the roof right now. And 3, I hear some voices outside in the hallway of my office currently, right? So 3 sounds you hear. 2, things you smell. I smell my cologne right now. I also smell some broccoli that I had for dinner last night. Sounds like I need to go brush my teeth a little bit more. Check to myself. And then 1 thing you can taste, and I set that one up. I also have a mint flavor in my mouth. I just had a mint a few minutes ago. So again, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but 5 things you can see around you, 4 things you can touch or feel, 3 distinct sounds you hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And guys, when it comes to being present and being worried and focused and present in the day, right? Scripturally in Matthew 6:34, therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Christ calls us to be grounded in today. So don't be stuck in the past. Don't look too far in the future, but be here, be in the moment. Be present today. I love you guys. I pray you have an awesome day, an awesome week, and we'll see you next time.